الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على عبد الله ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Before we go any further, I want to answer a few little points and a few little mulahadat that I had with regard to some of the things we mentioned previously where I might not have been as clear as I would have liked. So I just wanted a few little points. In no particular order, but just a few little clarifications or points that I think is very important for people to note. The first one is we spoke about Siffin. We spoke about what happened between Ali radiallahu an and Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. There's a few things that is very important to know about this. The first one is, what was the difference between what happened in the Battle of the Camel and the Battle of Siffin? One of the major differences that Talha and Zubayr radiallahu anhuma gave bay'ah to Ali radiallahu an in the first moment that Ali was chosen to be the Khalifa. Rather, Ali took the hand of Talha and said, I will give you allegiance for you to be the Khalifa. And Talha said, rather I will give you allegiance. And Talha took Ali's hand and gave him allegiance. As did Az-Zubayr. So what you have to understand about the Battle of the Camel is, there was never a fight over the bay'ah, over the issue of giving bay'ah to Ali. Rather, the bay'ah was already agreed. So Talha and Az-Zubayr radiallahu anhuma and Aisha, without shadow of a doubt radiallahu anha, already in the first moment that Ali was chosen to be the Khalifa, gave allegiance to him. That was never the issue. The issue was them trying to make peace and islah. Why? Because they found the situation in their view change, because they had access to the Muslim army and so they saw the situation as it changed for them. Now is the opportunity for us to make things right. That's the first point. The second point, which is very important to note, is that in Siffin there was never a fight over the Khilafah. Muawiyah was not fighting to be the Caliph. Rather, Muawiyah, like everybody else, agreed completely with Ali radiallahu anh being the Khalifa. There was never a discussion about it. They were not fighting over the Khilafah at all. And the tahkim was not over the Khilafah. And I think that was clear, but just in case it wasn't, I wanted to make it clear. The tahkim, the negotiation was never over the Khilafah, who's going to be Caliph. The negotiation was, how are we going to stop clashing with each other? How are we going to fix this problem we have? There was never a discussion at all about who is going to be the Khalifa. The Khalifa was Ali from the beginning. What did they actually agree in the tahkim? What they actually agreed in the end was simply to keep the matter as it was temporarily, with Muawiyah having responsibility for governing Syria and Ali radiallahu anh having responsibility for the Khilafah as a whole, as well as being physically present in Hijaz and Iraq, and letting the major Sahaba come together and then find a solution for the issue that Muawiyah had, which was what? Revenge for the killing of Uthman. That was all Muawiyah wanted. He never ever wanted to be Caliph. There was never a discussion that Muawiyah was going to take the Khilafah away from Ali. How can that be? It's impossible. The discussion was only regarding what? Regarding the simple matter of I'm Uthman's relative, I want revenge for the people who killed him. How are you going to give it to me? That was the discussion. Like, and the difference was that Muawiyah hadn't given the pledge of allegiance, while admitting that it was deserving for Ali radiallahu anh, but he didn't give that. He wanted the revenge for the qisas first of all, for the killing of Uthman. Whereas Talha and Zubayr had already given it in the first moment. The other thing that I wanted to clarify on that is, I don't know if I said it was Ali or Muawiyah, but it was Muawiyah who wrote to the Byzantine ruler. If I said it was Ali, that was a slip of the tongue. You know, I said that one of them wrote to the Byzantine ruler when he invaded Sham. He saw Ali and Muawiyah fighting, so he wasn't the sharpest person. Yani. He invaded Sham. Muawiyah wrote him a letter. He said, just keep going. Me and Ali together are going to come together. I'm going to sort this issue with him, and the two of us are going to come and get rid of you. He said, if you think this dispute with this cousin of mine is going to stop us fighting you, the two of us will go and fight you. It was not an issue like that. And don't think that there's an issue now. Look at the understanding of al-wala wal-bara from the Sahaba. Sahih, we're having a dispute between me and my cousin. That's what he calls him, between me and my from the tribal connections we have. We're having a bit of a dispute. But don't think this is going to make us take away from our commitment to Allah and to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the allegiance that we have for the Muslims and for Islam. For that was a letter that Muawiyah wrote to one of the Byzantine rulers who invaded Sham at the same time, or tried to invade Sham, and then thought better of it. We spoke about who supported each side, and we said that there were three groups. Like in reality, you can even say 5 if you want to. And this is really, it's maybe a little bit advanced, but it's worthwhile noting. We said 3 groups, right? We said there was a group who supported Ali radiallahu anh, believing that was the right thing to do. And there was a group who supported Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, believing this was the right thing to do, i.e. that it was right to get revenge for the killing of Uthman first, and then to proceed with the rulership second. And a group who said, we don't know what the right thing to do is, and we're going to step back because this is a fitna. There were actually 2 more groups, if you want to go that detailed. And that were people who were with Ali, but didn't take part in the fighting. They wouldn't take part in the fighting. They said, we believe that the truth is with you, but we don't believe that it's right for us to fight our brothers. And there were people who strongly discouraged him. And from the strongest of the people who discouraged him was his son Al-Hasan ibn Ali radiallahu anhuma. And multiple times he spoke to his father and he said to him, don't go out. He discouraged him from going for the battle of the camel, which was not supposed to be a battle. And he discouraged him also from the fighting in Siffin. And I'm with you, I'm together with you. But I don't see that it's the right thing to do to take part. Likewise, I found a narration from Abdullah ibn Abbas. So where was Abdullah? Where was Abdullah ibn? Where was Amr ibn al-As? Amr ibn al-As was with Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. Abdullah ibn Amr believed that Muawiyah had made a mistake in his judgment. He said, I believe that you've made a mistake in your judgment. But the Prophet ﷺ told me to be good to my father. I don't want to leave my father's side, but I don't want to take part in the fighting. For there was also, you can put them separate if you want, yani people who were together. He said, I'm with you, but I'm not with you. Yani. I'm with you, but I don't want to actually. And Ali radiallahu anh never compelled people to take part in the fighting. That's another point of benefit. He didn't. He didn't compel the people. Rather, he compelled the people to give the Pledge of Allegiance, no doubt. And now that the matter is settled, because there was nobody else. Who else are you going to pick? It's not just the pressure from the rebels, but even Ali himself, there was nobody better. We all believe that Ali was the best person that was there. So Ali, yes, he wanted the Pledge of Allegiance to be given. Because once the Muslims have settled upon a Khalifa, it's not allowed for there to be a debate in it and a fight in it. Like he never compelled the people to go out with him and fight against those that there was a disagreement with. Rather, he made it option, those that want to come with me and those that don't. I'm coming, I've got a few more points, inshallah ta'ala. One of the brothers asked a question about the issue of speaking about the Sahaba. There's another faida. Someone asked me about Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud died 32 after the Hijrah. When did Uthman die? 35 or 36, the qawl. There's two qawls. 35 is the mashhur, it's the famous qawl, and there's a qawl for 36, and it's not famous. 35. For Abdullah ibn Mas'ud died before the fitna. Like, there was something between him and that happened in his governorship, because when you see the story of Uthman in detail, the people really gave Uthman a really hard time. And the people in Kufa and Basra, they made so much trouble for Uthman. They kept saying to him, "We don't want this governor, change it to a different governor. We don't like the person you put in charge." And Uthman was incredibly patient with them. He kept on changing it, and he kept saying, as long as, if you're not asking me for haram, I'm not going to refuse your request. I'll change your governor. Then they would mistreat that governor. Then they would change back to another governor. And it was a lot of great difficulty. There were some troublemakers in Kufa. He kicked them out. And Uthman said, send them to where? Send them to Sham, where Muawiyah was the ruler at the time of Uthman, because Muawiyah is better to deal with him. Muawiyah was a noble man, and he was from Sadat Quraysh, the leaders of Quraysh. He knew how to deal with difficult people. So Uthman said, send them to Muawiyah. These troublemakers, Muawiyah will deal with them. And Muawiyah dealt with them. And he sat with them, and he explained to them, and he corrected them, and they listened to him. Then after a while, they started making trouble for Muawiyah, so they got sent back again. And then after a while, Uthman sent them to the son of Khalid ibn al-Walid. Because if Rifq doesn't work, plan B. And he was rough with them. He said, you think I'm going to treat you the way that the other two? You think I'm going to be like Muawiyah? I'm going to treat you nicely and sit you down and, sit with you and eat with you and explain? No, I'm going to teach you people. Uthman tried a lot, so there was a lot of things that happened, and one of those things involved Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. However, he died before the time of the fitna. That was another point. Before we get onto our topic, there was another couple of points, and then I'll just quickly in the question. We've got so much to cover. I just had a couple of things that I just noted that I wanted to go through. Okay, did I? Yeah. A couple of things that I wanted to go through. Quickly. Now, it is important to note, I think that's an important point to note, I made a note of that as well. It's very important to note that Muawiyah's request with regard to the killing of Uthman was not qisas for an ordinary person. You need to understand that. It wasn't that he's asking for retribution for just my cousin died and I want retribution. This is the Khalifa of the Muslims. This is an affair of the whole Muslim Ummah, the security of the Muslim Ummah going forward. So you have to bear that in mind. It's unfair to categorize it as, he is my relative, I want revenge. It was also deep concern over the long-term security of the Muslim Ummah. As Zubair mentioned it, Aisha radiallahu anha mentioned it, and also the same said for Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in. Also, with regard to the narrations that came, the clearest of the narrations that came showing that the correct ijtihad was the ijtihad of Ali radiallahu anhu is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ with regard to Ammar, that Ammar will be killed by the group that is oppressing the other. And when the two groups of Muslims fight, the group that kills Ammar will be the one that is oppressing the other one. And Ammar fought with Ali radiallahu anhu and was killed by the group that was with Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. So this issue here, it was the clearest proof. And that is after that, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As refused to take part, and others, when they said that this for us is clear. Because I know that the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever kills, because they didn't know who would kill Ammar. And Ammar took, they didn't, it's not the fact that Ali was fighting for, that Ammar was fighting for someone. They didn't know how would Ammar be killed. So they said some of them followed Ammar around the battlefield. And they were constantly going, where's Ammar? Where is Ammar? To know what will happen. When they saw that Ammar was killed by the group that was fighting with Muawiyah, it became clearer to the people. However, there was a ta'wil that people used why the fighting continued. There was a misunderstanding people had. Some of the people said, not from the Sahaba, like it was said, that they pushed Ammar, to fight against us. So they were responsible. Do you see how it's like a misunderstanding? Some people said that, and I didn't find it from the Sahaba, like from the people who said, why, how are you going to say that it was our fault? It wasn't our fault that Ammar was killed. They pushed Ammar forward and Ammar was killed. Like, the reality is that was one of them. However, the hadith of Aisha with regarding the well of Al-Hawab, this was not clear to her. So it's not correct to say that she had a clear evidence that she shouldn't have gone to make peace between the Muslims. She didn't. She remembered it and she was unsure what was meant. She heard the barking of the dogs and she said, which area of water is this? And they said, it's Al-Hawab. She said, I feel like the Prophet said, when he said to me that one of you will be at Al-Hawab, and it wasn't like the hadith of Ammar, where it was clear that the people who are wrong will do this. Like, it caused her a fleeting moment of doubt. And then Az-Zubair and others who were people of knowledge, they encouraged her and they said, no, this is making islah between the Muslims and the virtues of islah and the virtues of making peace. This reason of Aisha going out was the reason she left Medina in the first place. They say that Aisha radiallahu anha, the reason she left Medina was to try to calm down the situation of the rebels that gathered around Uthman. She wanted, because what had happened is some false letters had been written by Aisha, not by Aisha, had been written as though they were from Aisha, and sent to the rebels to tell them to come and free Medina, and come and attack Medina because we are all living under the oppression of Uthman. Those kind of letters had been written by people falsely putting Aisha's name on it. So Aisha thought if she left Medina, the situation could calm down. The people would see that it's not true. She told them it's not true. I never wrote anything to you. She swore by Allah that I swear to you by Allah, I never wrote any single thing to you until this moment. I've never written any letter to say to you to come or to say to you to attack Uthman ever. But she left. There's two important points in this. Number one, everything Aisha did was to de-escalate the situation. That's what she was trying to do. So she tried to leave Medina to make the situation calm down. And she went to Iraq to make the situation calm down. And there was a sense of responsibility from all of the people who took part in the Battle of the Camel. There was a sense of responsibility towards Uthman. There was a feeling of guilt because each of them felt like their name had been used to stir up the trouble. False letters had been written in Aisha's name. False letters had been written in the name of Az-Zubair. And so these kind of false Talha also, false things had been written from him. And so these forgeries, they felt a responsibility, and that was part of the reason why they went. Every single one of them that took part in the Battle of the Camel regretted it. And they used to say that Aisha, she would cry over it until her khimar would become like soaking wet. And until her scarf would become soaking wet because of how much she would cry over it. And everyone, they said every single person that took part in it felt any terrible regret for what happened, even though it was done by the munafiqeen. It was not by the Sahaba at all. They came for islah, like in the munafiqeen started fighting in the night time when people couldn't see each other. And then someone shouted at Ali, they're attacking us all and they've betrayed you and they're attacking you. And then that battle happened. A few other points that I wanted to mention. Before we go on to the discussion, There's a nice narration that's narrated regarding Ali radiallahu anhu. After the peace was made, the arbitration was done between them, and the peace deal was agreed between Ali and Muawiyah. Ali went out among the people that were killed in the battle from his side, and he said, they're in paradise. And then he went to the people who were killed on the side of Muawiyah and he said, they're in paradise. And he didn't have in his heart that hatred. It was seen as a duty to fulfill to Allah. فَقَاتِلُوا الَّتِي تَبَغِي حَتَّى تَفِي إِلَى أَمْرِ اللَّهِ. Quick couple of questions before we go on, because we have a lot to cover. We are really running a bit late. If a couple of people had any quick questions. Now, one brother asked, yes, Sahih, it came to my mind, about the issue of talking about the Sahaba. They said we don't speak about what went on or what goes on between the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum. And we leave off speaking. So is it allowed for us in this kind of lesson to sit and to speak? So the first thing is that we don't speak about something without a need. Our need here is to understand the context of what happened so that we have nothing but good to think about the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, and we don't think anything bad of it. The second point is that our scholars, the scholars of Islam, the likes of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, spoke about it in that regard, refuting the Shia, refuting the Nasibah, those people who hate the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala spoke about it in that regard. And the third thing is that we're only speaking about the Sahaba in a positive way, not in a negative way. Factually, there were issues that happened, like we're not speaking about it in any way other than a way that is positive, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. This question I will leave it a bit towards the end. Many ahadith came regarding the Khawarij. Many ahadith. From them is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, يأتي في آخر الزمان قوم حدثاء الأسنان سفهاء الأحلام. There will come at the end of time a people who will be young in the tooth and foolish in the mind. حدثاء الأسنان, they will be young people, not older people, not people of wisdom. And they will be foolish in the mind. And we know the Khawarij will come out from time after time after time until the Dajjal comes from among them. Like this remains a sifa min sifat al-Khawarij until today. Young kids, young people, hudatha'ul asnan, sufaha'ul ahlam. They're fools, they're not wise, they're not learned people. They're not people who have the wisdom of studying for a prolonged period of time, nor are they people who have the age of wisdom. And I think you can apply this to Khawarij al-Asr, the Khawarij of today, just like you can apply it to the Khawarij of old. You see a bunch of kids, young people, if they have an imam, their imam is a young guy, telling these kids to go out and slaughter people and kill them without right, and all of this. Knowledge, mostly they follow the storytellers. That's the reality. Most of the time they follow the storytellers, not the people of knowledge. Like with that, they are a people of the Khawarij of old were a people of ibadah. And why this is important, we mentioned the hadith, يَحْكِرُ أَحَدُكُمْ صَلَاتَهُ مَعَ صَلَاتِهِمْ وَصِيَامَهُ مَعَ صِيَامِهِمْ. one of you would belittle his prayer with regard to their prayer and his fasting with regard to their fasting. Don't let the apparent religiousness of the Khawarij fool you with regard to what they believe. This is also applicable for Khawarij al-Asr. Even though Khawarij al-Asr are a mixed bunch. Yani they are not people of ibadah like the people of the past used to be. Like maybe a person will come to you with a very long beard. Maybe a person will come to you who has a beautiful recitation of the Quran. In some of the narrations it mentions, they will say the speech of the best of the people. يَقُولُونَ مِنْ خَيْرِ قَوْلِ الْبَرِيَّةِ. So what will they tell you? We need to establish the ruling of Allah. لا حكم إلا لله. There's no ruling except by Allah. They will say beautiful words. We need to establish al-jihad fi sabilillah. They'll say words min khayri qawl al-bariyah. But the reality is those words don't go from their throat. Just words that you hear. For this description is particularly important. Like the Prophet ﷺ said, يَتَكَلَّمُونَ بِكَلِمَةِ الْحَقِّ. They speak words that are the truth. يَمْرُقُونَ مِنَ الْإِسْلَامِ كَمَا يَمْرُقُ السَّهْمُ مِنَ الرَّمِيَّةِ. They go out of Islam like the arrow goes out when it's shot at the game. In some of the narrations, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, if I live to see them, I will kill them, the killing of Ad. And he said, طُوبَى لِمَنْ قَتَلَهُمْ وَقَتَلُوا. Paradise for the one who kills them or the one that is killed by them. And he said, هُمْ شَرُّ الْخَلْقِ وَالْخَلِيقَةِ. They are the worst of creation. And he said, كِلَابُ أَهْلِ النَّارِ. الْخَوَارِجُ كِلَابُ أَهْلِ النَّارِ. They are the dogs of the hellfire. Here comes an important mas'ala. Are they Muslim or not? Because some of these ahadith are extremely staunch. The dogs of the people of the fire, who paradise for the one who kills them and they kill him. If I live to see them, I will kill them, the killing of Ad. It's staunch words. However, the scholars differed on it. And there were scholars from Ahl Sunnah who saw them that they left Islam. Like in the Jumhur, the majority, and from them and from the best of them is Ali radiallahu anhu himself considered them to be among the Muslims. Like they are bugha, yani rebels who caused harm to the Muslims. However, they should be seen as Muslims and not as kuffar. But sahih, it's true that there is a khilaf on the issue because of the severity of the ahadith that came with regard to the Khawarij. As for Ali radiallahu anh and those who are with him, they saw that these ahadith are a strong emphasis in fighting against them and a strong warning against being from them. And they said the reason why, it's not from Ali, like the ulama say, the reason why the hadith mentions them as kilabu ahli nar is because they attacked the Muslims like rabid dogs. Like a mad dog, they came and they slaughtered Muslims. And this is from min sifat al-Khawarij, that they murder the Muslims. We talk about the Khawarij al-Asr and we talk about certain things they did in killing the non-Muslims. You have to remember that these are a people whose the first time they turn their sword, it will be against Islam and against the Muslims before everybody else. Because we to them are kuffar. So for us, they are even willing to leave the non-Muslims if it's necessary, if they can kill people who they consider to be kuffar and apostates from among the Muslims. And because they attacked the Muslims like rabid dogs, like a pack of wolves or something, just tearing the Muslims apart, فَthey deserve الْجَزَاءُ مِنْ جِنْسِ الْعَمَلِ, they deserve to be punished as the dogs of the people of the fire. As for the munadhara of Abdullah ibn Abbas, it is beautiful. This is where you see what knowledge does. Abdullah ibn Abbas came to Ali radiyallahu anhu after the group separated in Harura. And he said, لَعَلِّي أُكَلِّمُ هَؤُلَاءِ الْقَوْمِ, perhaps you would let me go and speak to these people. Ali radiallahu anh said to him, إِنِّي أَخَافَهُمْ عَلَيْكَ, I'm scared that they're going to hurt you. قَالَ كَلَّا, he said, don't worry anything about me. He said, I prepared myself and I went into them. While they were eating, they said, Marhaban bika ya ibn Abbas. Ma ja'a bik. They said, welcome, O Ibn Abbas. What brought you? He said, I came to you from the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. Look at the first dalil he brings them. أتيتكم من عند أصحاب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم المهاجرين والأنصار ومن عند ابن عم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وصهره ومن عند ابن عم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وصهره. He said, I've come to you from the Sahaba, the Muhajirin and the Ansar. And I came to you from the cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his son-in-law. So what's the first thing he proved to them? Not one of you here are Sahaba. That's the first thing he did before they even realized. He's established a proof upon them. Not one of you are from the Sahaba, and you know what the Quran says about the virtue of the Sahaba, and you claim to believe it. I'm coming to you from the Sahaba, from the son-in-law of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the Muhajirin and the Ansar. He said, عليهم نزل القرآن فهم أعلم بتأويله منكم وليس فيكم منهم أحد. He said, these people know the Quran better than you. It came down upon them, and not one of you are from the Sahaba. لِأُبَلِّغَكُمْ مَا يَقُولُونَ وَأُبَلِّغَهُمْ مَا تَقُولُونَ. He said, my job here is to tell you what they say and to tell them what you say. He said, فَانْتَحَ لِي نَفَرٌ مِّنْهُمْ. And a group of them came to him, and he said, هَاتُوا, bring to me what your problem is with the companions. He keeps saying it. Bring to me what is your problem with the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said, we have 3 problems. Ibn Abbas said, bring it. ما هن? They said, أما إحداهن. As for one of them, فإنه حكم الرجال في أمر الله وقال الله إن الحكم إلا لله. They said, we got a first problem with Abdullah ibn Abbas. Ali chose men to judge instead of Allah. Meaning, what happened between Ali and Muawiyah and Siffin, and the choosing of Abu Musa al-Ashari and Amr ibn al-As to negotiate a settlement. Ali chose men to judge instead of Allah. And Allah said that judging is only for Allah. Ibn Abbas said, هذه واحدة. Number 1. So far he hasn't said anything to me. He's okay. Number 1. Carry on. They said, أما الثانية, as for the second one, فإنه قاتل ولم يسبي ولم يغنم. He said he fought a battle and he didn't take prisoners and he didn't take war booty. He never took, meaning Aisha radiallahu anha and the people in the Battle of the Camel, he didn't take them as prisoners and he didn't take them as slaves and he didn't take their property from them. In kanu kuffaran, he said if they are kuffar, it was permissible for him to take them as prisoners. And if they were believers, it was not permissible for him to fight them. See the idea, the way these people are thinking. Said, you ask Ali, he fought them. If he fought them and they were Muslim, he shouldn't have fought them. If he fought them and they were kuffar, he should have taken them as prisoners. Abdullah ibn Abbas said, هذه ثنتان. Said, okay, that's two. ما الثالثة? What's the third one? They said, محى نفسه من أمير المؤمنين. He deleted for himself the title of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And this is something that happened when there was a discussion about it. He didn't call himself Amir al-Mu'mineen. They said, فَإِن لَمْ يَكُنْ أَمِيرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ فَهُوَ أَمِيرُ الْكَافِرِينَ. If he's not the Amir of the Muslims, he's the Amir of the Kafir. Abdullah ibn Abbas said, هل عندكم شيء غير هذا؟ هل عندكم شيء غير هذا? Do you have something else? قالوا حسبنا هذا. They said, this is enough. You can't answer this. We've got things, but this is finished. Abdullah ibn Abbas replied to them. He said to them, أرأيتكم إن قرأت عليكم من كتاب الله جل ثناؤه وسنة نبيه ما يرد قولكم أترجعون. He said, what do you think? If I was to read to you from the Quran and Sunnah that which refutes your three positions, would you come back? They said, yes. Abdullah ibn Abbas said, أما قولكم حكم الرجال في أمر الله فإني أقرأ عليكم في كتاب الله أن قد صير الله حكمه إلى الرجال في ثمن ربع درهم. He said, I'm going to read to you in the Quran that Allah allowed men to judge something so little as a quarter of a dirham. And Allah commanded that the ruling in it be given to men. He said, أرأيت قول الله تبارك وتعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقتلوا الصيد وأنتم حرم ومن قتله منكم متعمدا فجزاء. He said, O you who believe, don't kill the sayd, the hunt, don't hunt while you're in a state of ihram. And whoever kills one deliberately from you, his punishment is مثل ما قتل من النعم يحكم به ذوى عدل منكم. He said, the punishment is that he has to give the likes of what he killed, and the judgment should be given to the people of justice among you. And he said, and from the ruling of Allah is that Allah Azza wa Jal allowed men to judge about this issue. And if Allah willed, He could have judged about it. Yani Allah could have said that you have to pay this much or you have to give this much, but He gave the judgment to men. Then he said, I ask you by Allah, did Allah not give the judgment to men in making peace between people? Being better than the judgment regarding a rabbit. And he said, which one is more? They said, for sure. Then he read to them, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ شِقَاقَ بَيْنِهِمَا فَبَعَثُوا حَكَمًا مِّنْ أَهْلِهِ وَحَكَمًا مِّنْ أَهْلِهَا. If you fear a dispute between husband and wife, send a judge from her family and a judge from his family and a judge from her family. He said, then I ask you by Allah. Allah Azza wa Jal commanded men to judge in making peace between husband and wife. Is it not better to make peace between people that will safeguard the blood of the Muslims? Is that better? Or is it better with regard to the issue of the woman, that is, the woman and the relations with the woman? Then he said, are we done with this first one? They said, yes, you've convinced us. He said, أَمَّا قَوْلُكُمْ قَاتَلَ وَلَمْ يَسْبِ وَلَمْ يَغْنَمْ, that he fought and he didn't take prisoners and he didn't take war booty. Do you believe that your mother Aisha, you can make halal from her what you make halal from the other slaves that you take, female slaves that you take? He said, if you say that it is halal to do with her what you would do with another female slave, فَقَدْ كَفَرْتُمْ, you people are kuffar. And if you say she's not your mother, you are kuffar. You have disbelieved. And he quoted to them the ayah, وَأَزْوَاجُهُ أُمَّهَاتُهُمْ, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ are your mothers. He said, you are between two types of misguidance, so you should find a way out. Meaning that either you're going to say that it is permissible to take Aisha as a slave and to do with her as you would do with your other female slaves, فَقَدْ كَفَرْتُمْ, you left Islam. And if you say that she's not your mother, فَقَدْ كَفَرْتُمْ, you left Islam. He said, are we done with this one? They said, we're done. He said, as for him not using the title Amir al-Mu'mineen, I will bring you what will please you. The Prophet ﷺ on the day of Hudaybiyah made a peace agreement with the mushrikeen. And he said to Ali, right, Ali, this is what Muhammad, the messenger of Allah, made an agreement with so-and-so. They stopped Ali as he was writing, and they said to Ali, if we believed that he was Rasulullah, we wouldn't be having this discussion. We don't accept him to write. Rasulullah. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, erase it, O Ali. You know that I'm the Messenger of Allah, you can erase it. And write, this is what Muhammad ibn Abdullah has agreed. Like we know in the narration, Ali couldn't do it. He said, I can't do it. So the Prophet ﷺ said, point to me, where's the words? And the Prophet ﷺ himself rubbed out and erased where Ali told him it says Rasulullah, and Ali wrote Muhammad ibn Abdullah, Muhammad son of Abdullah. He said, Wallahi, the Rasul ﷺ is better than Ali. And he also rubbed out his title. And his title did not take him away from being a prophet. When he rubbed out his title, he didn't stop being a prophet. So when Ali rubbed out his title, it didn't stop him from being the Amir of the Mu'mineen. He said, have you come out of this? They said, yes. So 2,000 of them came back. And the rest of them remained upon what they were upon. It's an authentic narration. The hadith is hadithun sahih. For honestly, what you can see from this is you see the value of knowledge. And you see how easy it is for people to misinterpret things and to misunderstand even ayat of the Quran because they didn't have guidance from understanding it the way the Sahaba understood it. Now we come to the next event in the historical sequence, and that is the murder of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. A people of Basra came to Ali from among them, from among the Khawarij. One of them said to Ali, "Ittaqi Allah ya Ali, فَإِنَّكَ مَيِّتٌ." They said, "Fear Allah, O Ali, you're a dead man." And he's telling him, we've come to kill you. Rather, Ali said to them, rather, it is a decree of Allah that has been decreed. Rather, I will be killed. And I'm not a dead man. I'm a man who will be killed. And it's a decree that Allah has already decreed. There came a man called Abdurrahman bin Muljam al-Muradi. And Ali required him to give him bay'ah, and he refused twice. This man, he wanted to marry a woman also among the Khawarij. And she said to him that I will marry you and my mahar is that you kill Ali. Radiallahu ta'ala. And others they also planned to kill from among the Sahaba. They planned to kill Ali radiallahu an and Muawiyah. And they planned to kill Amr ibn al-As. In Kufa on the day of Jumu'ah, with 13 nights remaining from the month of Ramadan, these people gathered together and they said they prayed the whole night. And the people who planned this murder, they prayed tahajjud to ask Allah to give them success in murdering the Sahaba. This is the reality of the Khawarij. Don't let yourself be fooled by their prayer. Don't let yourself be fooled by their recitation of the Quran. Whole night in prayer to ask Allah to give them success to kill the Sahaba. And in that month of Ramadan, in that time, and it was said it was the 21st night, and there are other views about it, he came at the time of the Fajr prayer, and he struck Ali bin Abi Talib radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and he killed him. And the various people that had plans to kill, the three, he promised he would kill Ali, and he promised he would kill Muawiyah, and he promised he would kill Amr ibn al-As. And there were three people who took the responsibility, and Abdurrahman ibn Munjam took the responsibility for killing Ali, and there were others that took responsibility for the others. As for Muawiyah, he was injured, but he didn't die. And he was struck while he was praying in Damascus, in the Salah. Like what happened to Umar, he struck him. He was injured, but he didn't die. As for what happened with Amr. He was supposed to be praying in the masjid. However, he was ill. So he appointed instead Khawarij bin Hudhafa to lead the prayer. The person who went to kill Amr didn't realize what happened. So he killed Kharija instead. And from it came the famous proverb, أَرَدْتُ عَمْرًا وَأَرَادَ اللَّهُ خَارِجًا. I wanted Amr and Allah wanted Kharija. And it became a proverb the Arabs used when you tried to do something and you ended up doing the wrong thing. أَرَدْتُ عَمْرًا وَأَرَادَ اللَّهُ خَارِجًا. Ali radiallahu anhu, he passed away, and his children, they did the ghusl for him, and Al-Hasan ibn Ali prayed over him, and he was buried in the early morning time, the time in the night before the morning time. This itself, the killing of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the strangest thing about it is that the people actually believed, from the Khawarij, that he did a great service to Allah. There was a man called Imran. He was a poet. He had some poetry. And Imran ibn Hittan. And he said the following lines of poetry. يا ضربة من تقي ما أراد بها إلا ليبلغ من ذي العرش رضوانا إني لأذكره يوما فأحسبه أوفى البرية عند الله ميزانا أكرم بقوم بطون الطير أقبرهم لم يخلطوا دينهم بغيا وعدوانا. He said, what a beautiful strike from a righteous man who only wished to gain the pleasure of the owner of the Arsh. I remember him one day, and I believe him to be the person with the heaviest reward on the scale of Allah, the scale of good deeds, Yawm al-Qiyamah. He's saying this about the person who murdered Ali. How noble are a people who live in the bellies of birds. Then that's their grave, is in the belly of birds. They didn't mix their religion with oppression and falsehood. Look at this. Look at this, this individual, that he believed this action to be the heaviest good deed on the scales. It doesn't matter, don't think about the battle of Badr, don't think about the battle of Uhud, don't think about defending the Prophet. The best thing that anyone ever did is kill Ali ibn Abi Talib. And many people refuted him. Many people refuted him. Many people. Like from the refutations that were given, one of the poets replied, بَلْ ضَرْبَةٌ مِّن شَقِيٍّ مَا أَرَادَ بِهَا إلا ليبلغ من ذي العرش خسرانا إني لأذكره يوما فأحسبه أشقى البرية عند الله ميزانا. He said, rather this was a strike from a wretched person who only wished to get from Allah complete loss. I remember him one day, and I consider him to be the most wretched of the people on the scales. And others, they had other things they said about him. عليه ثم عليه الدهر متصلا لعائن الله إسرارا وإعلانا فأنتما من كلاب النار جاء به نص الشريعة برهانا وتبيانا. He said, upon him for the rest of time may the curse of Allah be in secret and open. Those people are the people of the fire, the dogs of the fire, as the nas of the Sharia came any clarifying. And there was many lines of poetry that were said in refutation of what those people said. Like, and I wanted to bring this to you, for wallahi, I really wanted you to understand the reality of these people. And we're going to summarize our discussion on the Khawarij now, because we have to finish it in this sitting. I've got a note that says 2 minutes, like, and I might just slightly ignore it. Not ignore it, but I might take a bit more. I wanted to be honest, I wanted to just go over the most obvious features of the belief of the Khawarij. What are the most apparent features of the belief of the Khawarij? I'll give those 2 minutes back and then do it after. Let's see. Now I'll find where I put it. I had a list of some points I wanted to raise with you, which is important. Is it my selection? So, the most obvious points with regard to the aqidah of the Khawarij. The first is the takfir of al-fasiq al-milli. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala said, ثُمَّ إِذَا تَرَكَ وَاجِبًا أَوْ فَعَلَ مُحَرَّمًا قالوا بنفوذ الوعيد فيه فيوجبون تخليد فساق أهل الملة في النار وهذا قول جمهور المعتزلة والخوارج لكن الخوارج يكفرون بالذنب الكبير أو الصغير عند بعضهم وأما المعتزلة فيقولون هو في منزلة بين منزلتين لا مؤمن ولا كافر. Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah said, then if a person leaves something wajib or does something haram, they say that the punishment must happen to him. You with me? If someone leaves a wajib or does haram, they say the punishment must happen. There's no forgiveness. It has to happen. So they say the fusaq of Islam, of the millah, they have to be in the hellfire forever. This is the view of the majority of the Mu'tazila and the Khawarij. However, the Khawarij say he's a kafir by doing a major sin or a minor sin according to some of them. So there's an offshoot of the Khawarij that even believes a minor sin makes you a kafir. As for the Mu'tazila, they say he's in a place between two places. Neither is he a believer nor is he a disbeliever. The second point. They see the permissibility of killing, fighting against the ones who oppose them. They raise the sword against the people of Islam and they leave the people who worship the idols. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he said, وفي الصحيحين حديث أبي سعيد يقتلون أهل الإسلام ويدعون أهل الأوثان لئن أدركتهم لأقتلنهم قتل عاد ولأقتلهم قتل عاد. He said in the Sahihain from the hadith of Abu Sa'id, they kill the people of Islam and they leave the people who worship the idols. If I see them, I will kill them, the killing of Ad. He said, وَهَذَا نَعْتُ سَائِرِ الْخَارِجِينَ كالرافضة ونحوهم فإنهم يستحلون دماء أهل القبلة لاعتقادهم أنهم مرتدون وأكثر مما يستحلون من دماء الكفار الذين ليسوا مرتدين لأن المرتد شر من غيره. Shaykh al-Islam, he said, this description is not just for the Khawarij. All those who went against the Jama'ah, including the Rafidah, you see the same thing. They say it's permissible to kill the people of the Sunnah. And that's what you see from the Rafidah. You look at how it has been in Syria and elsewhere. What do the Rafidah do? They're the same. You can slaughter the people of the Sunnah like as if they are just dogs in the street. You can just kill them, slaughter them wherever you find them. This is a description of the Khawarij and a description of the Rafidah and the other people who went out from the Sunnah and turned against them. They saw the permissibility of slaughtering. In other words, what joins the Khawarij and the Rafidah? A rejection of the Sunnah. Both the Khawarij of old, not the new ones, the old ones, and the Rafidah both reject the Sunnah. He says whenever people reject the Sunnah, you're going to see this description from them. يَقْتُلُونَ أَهْلَ الْإِسْلَامِ وَيَدْعُونَ أَهْلَ الْأَوْثَانِ. The third point, and we're not going to mention too many, the third point is that they base their takfir upon al-mutashabihat min al-adillat al-shar'iyyah. Ibn Umar said about them, شِرَارُ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ. He said, إِنَّهُمْ انطلقوا إلى آيات نزلت في الكفار فجعلوها على المؤمنين. There's no doubt this is true. Ibn Umar, he said, these are a people who take the ayat which were revealed about the kuffar and they make these ayat against the believers, against the Muslims. And Shaykh al-Islam mentions, especially with regard to the rulers. They say the Muslim rulers have gone out of justice. And therefore, they consider them to be kuffar and they bring the ayat that were revealed about the kuffar and apply them to the Muslims. Shaykh al-Islam, he said, فَهَؤُلَاءِ أَصْلُ ضَلَالِهِمْ اعْتِقَادُهُمْ فِي أَئِمَّةِ الْهُدَى وَجَمَاعَةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ أَنَّهُمْ خَارِجُونَ عَنِ الْعَدْلِ وَأَنَّهُمْ ضَالُونَ وَهَذَا مَأْخَذُ الْخَارِجِينَ عَنِ السُنَّةِ مِنَ الرَّافِضَ وَنَحْوِهِمْ. He said, these people, the core of their misguidance is their belief that the imams of guidance and the main group of the Muslims have gone outside of justice and guidance, and they are therefore disbelievers, misguided, and this is the position of all those who went out from the Sunnah, from the Khawarij and the Rafidah and others. So we understood this. And until today, you see those influenced by them. Because I'm going to finish with this point, because we do have to finish before Salah. I can't go past Salah time. I really want to finish with this point. One thing you're going to see about the firaq as we start to go through it now in more detail, you're going to see something really important. You're actually going to see that new groups come today that take inspiration from those groups and then implement that in a slightly different way. For wallahi, I personally say that last statement of Shaykh al-Islam, 110% you can apply to Sayyid Qutb. and al-Mawdudi, and those who went on their path. 100%, as though you're reading it about them. They are a people who took this and they considered that the Jama'ah have gone outside of justice. Yani the Muslims are in ghafla, in kufr, and therefore they permit against the Muslims what they permit. And this group of Al-Mawdudi and Sayyid Qutb and those who took their view went on the same view. They weren't the same as the Khawarij of old. They weren't the same as the Khawarij of old because the groups change all the time. Like in that part they took from them, they took it copy-paste. That the Muslims are in Jahiliyyah, as Sayyid Qutb and the others used to say, the Muslims are in Jahiliyyah and they treat them as kuffar. Yani all of you people are kuffar. And they apply the ayat of the kuffar upon them. And they only make an exception for their people who are with them. And that is why if you compare the half that is Hassan al-Banna from the Sufi side of the Ikhwan and Sayyid Qutb and al-Mawdudi from the more aggressive side, which one do you see killing the people? Sayyid Qutb and al-Mawdudi and those who went upon them. Tawheed al-Hakimiyyah. What is Tawheed al-Hakimiyyah? Copy-paste exactly what they said to Ali ibn Abi Talib. La hukma illa lillah. This is exactly the Tawheed al-Hakimiyyah that al-Mawdudi copy-pasted from the Khawarij. Cut, copy, paste. In al-hukmu illa lillah. There's no judging except for Allah. All you people are kuffar. Sayyid Qutb with the same thing. You people are in Jahiliyyah. You're living in a time of Jahiliyyah. These people are not Muslims. They've turned away from Islam, so they're not Muslims anymore. Copy-paste from the Khawarij. Like, they weren't everything. They didn't bring everything. They didn't bring the whole package. They just brought a part of it and other parts from elsewhere. That is what Allah Azza wa Jal made easy to mention. Salah. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.